Hello and welcome back to WN4. We are live. Today is the day 5 and we're ready to move on with our speakers. What differs apes from people? I would say it's culture. And what differs great companies from the regular ones? Company culture. That's what just we're about to discuss with Artur Davydenko from Playgendary. Hi, Artur.
Hi, Igor.
How's it going?
Yeah, it's all good. Thank you very much and honored to be here. And thank you to VN team for organizing the event.
Thank
So
you very
far,
much. Thanks for joining. Good luck with the presentation.
thank you very much. So, hey all, I'm Artur, and thanks to the team again for the organizing this event. So far, it was great. 4 days full of good, great content. I will try to keep up with the quality with my presentation about company culture and how it is the key element for key employees. First of all, just 2 words about Legendary. So we are a gaming company of almost 400 employees all over the world. We've been working remotely before the whole virus thing, and thanks to that, we survived and not only survived but growing like crazy. And we make hit games which were downloaded more than 1.7 billion times, and we try to make it bigger. Not only with the marketing, commercial, and production activities, but with the company culture as well. So let's make our dialogue more productive. I will share our cases and our vision on that, and then we can discuss it here or on Facebook if it will be suitable for you. We will share key instruments to start with, and of course it's more, and I will try to share the links to more material for you to research by yourself. So just a few words about me, as we will have more than 25 minutes of dialogue. I'm Artur. I've been working in game development industry for 5 years, and my role in Playgendary is to lead people operation activities, which means recruiting and HR, and of course, culture of our company. Previously, I've been working in 2 gaming companies and Google team. My areas were project management and business development. So I've been really close to HR and recruiting all the time, but now I'm focusing exactly on that. So let's go to our theme. Usually there are 2 different components of culture in a long playing company: mission and company values. Mission is a social oriented goal of what we will do and why we will do it. Every great and big company has it. It's not necessary to have it from the scratch, from the first year when we try to be successful from commercial point of view, but then it's crucial to retain employees. But we will be focusing on the values and how can we integrate, because it's more discoverable and it's easy to discuss than a mission. So our focus will be values and how do we operate, how we do things, how we finish it, and how we success together. Usually, the first question is, why do we need company values at all? And the quick answer is to connect people and to make relationships more clear and effective, because we don't have one gaming company in the market. We have different opportunities for every great employee, and we need to clearly explain to him or to her why we connect together and why we want to do things together in the future. And the first step would be, from our point of view, is to have your own coordinate system. I just shared a few great coordinate systems from Spencer Stewart, Rick Edgerman, and Franz Schuer, but you can use your own. The main thing is just to understand what is good and what is bad, how we do things and how we don't do things. It's just the first step, and it's really black and white thing, but to start with, it's a really great approach because it's simple. The second step would be to have an informal, I repeat, informal one-to-one interviews with your employees. And I just shared how sociologists offer to do it, such as great Richard Mosley and Laszlo Block. But you can, of course, choose your own way to interview your employees of what is important for them. What do they value in our company? You will find a lot of unexpected answers, and you will understand that this step need to be connected to the third step, which is usually the only way to find the company values. But I think we should go further. So the third step is, of course, have a leadership brainstorm and to have our own view of how our company should operate, what is great and what is bad for us, and then connect it, of course, with the second step, as we have a lot of feedback from employees. And the key result here would be is to have the first iteration of do and don'ts. And I just share the example of how it can be done. So we have just two different systems to scale on: flexibility and independence or independence. But you can choose your own way. And the bad way to do your company values is just to take it from successful company, maybe well known in the market or even in the world. And the thing here is that this company is usually from another country. And even if it's from your country and it has the same culture history, it will have the different historical problems and the different people. And based on that, the different things will connect them as the things that will connect you to each other. And we want to find the things which connect us and make us to engage with each other, not to steal it from another company, even if it's a great company. So the key result here, once again, the first iteration with key do and don'ts. Okay, we have the first iteration. Now let's move on to the practice. Usually the second difficult part of the company values topic is to integrate it in the company. Not only have it, not only talk about it, but make it actionable. So how will we integrate it? To start discussing this topic, I would differ two big teams in the company which lead the company. The first team is leadership. And what leaders do? Leaders usually work on long-term goals, and they work on communications, and they motivate employees, and of course, the human being, they inspire us. What does it mean in details? It means that leaders don't work with the tasks. Leaders don't work with the short-term performances. Leaders work with the strategy. They work with the how do we operate in the market, where we will go and why we will go, how we will differ from our competitors. Okay, we have it. We have a vision. Then how we will connect our teams with our historical problems to go to this strategy vision. And of course, when we will have problems, and we will have problems, of course, how do we motivate our people to perform and maybe outperform? And as we have it, we need to regularly, I repeat, regularly inspire our people with the leadership communications of why do we stay connected to each other, share success cases. I repeat, share success cases with your teams, highlight different employees, talk to each other, and not let it to be think in different teams differently. We need to talk about our success and our failures, and then inspire people to work, because we have a work to do, a work to finish, as Michael Jordan said. And then the second theme is management. How do they differ from leaders? Managers work on tasks, work on short-term tasks to be done. They organize processes for tasks to be done. And this is the key difference. They work with operations, and they work with performance reviews, and they work with the feedback, one-to-one feedback to employees, which is a really big part of communications. Not only the strategic plans, the vision, do we differ from another company, but what you as employee done well and haven't done well, and why. How is it correlated to our culture, to our principles? Why it is a key do, why it is a key don't. How can I help you as your manager? Why do I want to help you? And what exactly will we do to help you to perform? And of course, it's not possible without control. But when we talk about control in Playgendary, we talk about the quality of result. And this is all, not time control or all other shady stuff. It's not about our culture. And as we trying to evolve, as we trying to plan tasks, organize processes, and control the quality of results, of course, we solve problems. And this is the routine of managers, day-to-day work of every manager, to help to solve team problems and to help teammates to solve their problems. And how is it correlated to culture? You can ask me, and this is a great question. So the key result here is the internal communications model. What does it mean? It means that we can use our key don't and do's, our company values, and spread them around the company. The first way is the verbal, of course. Wide range company updates, team syncs, one-to-one performance reviews, one-to-one interviews. It would be the main verbal methods. And then, of course, visual methods. Our own events, internal events, our own internal merchandise, our knowledge bases, where we use the same principles of culture and visualize them. And it's a short, and the quickest way to spread your culture across the company. And then, as we already talk to each other the way we want to talk to each other, and we help each other the way we want to help each other, it would be the good time to go further. And the further is to trying to find more great employees. How to highlight our company and our company values among the market. And when I talk about market, I'm talking about labor market, of course, when we compete with another employers to find a great employee. So what values single out your company? In Playgendary, we think that we're a really flat structure company where everyone can have responsibility and a chance to hit. And it is really important to understand it properly. So it's not the title, it's your role in the team, and you have a responsibility. And it's not so easy as it sounds, but it's our principles of how we take the responsibility to every person in the company, but wait, and we share that we want the best possible result. So we're really business oriented and team based in decision making. It's our thing. It's how we single out across the other employers. But you can find your own way. I just wanted to share the real example from us. The key result here would be to find your employer value propositions, to share it in the market, to share it with candidates, and then to talk to them, having the culture fit questions for interviews. And I will explain each of the parts which I mentioned. The first, talk to the market. What does it mean? It means that you have media, you have events such we and fall, you have social media, your own social media accounts, and you can use your culture, your internal communications model based on that. You can spread the company values in these channels. Then you have candidates, and your recruiters can spread the company values to them at the beginning of the conversation. And every conversation should include this, because if no, how can we then measure it? And we measure it with the surveys after the interview. So we send surveys to our candidates and ask them what can they highlight from our interview. Now, when we spread our view, our values, we can try to have a review of this candidate with the culture fit questions. Usually, in some cases, when you can choose one or two or three ways to decide something, and based on that, we can understand: do you fit in our culture or no? It's not so black and white, but as you will try to do it, you will understand that some ways to make decisions can be out of your culture. And this is really important because most of the commercial success based on decisions we make and how do we make them. So, okay, we we found the key do and don'ts. We have the internal communications model. We have value propositions for labor market, and we trying to find the most from every interview using culture fit questions. Okay, now we can once again return to our current employees and think about how long do people work here and why is it important for us. And I will try to explain our point of view on that. The third thing is that why do we need to retain employees? It is important because we are not the only one gaming company in the world, and we have competitors. And we have our own problems, historical or current problems, which we need to solve to retain our employees. We need to work on that. We need to invest our time in that. Or we can have a churn, we can lose our employees. And you can think about a few examples when you lost a really great employee and you thought about why. And usually it's based on tasks and on the learning phase. And the employee can share that he want to do some new tasks and he or she couldn't find it in your company. But a lot of cases will include something from culture, something from processes, communications, teams, and we can work on it. And I will share how we think about it. So you can retain employees using main stage of the employee lifetime. I share, of course, all links so you can research it by yourself. But the key result here is your LTV. So we have LTV in games when we measure players' lifetime, and only here we focused on employees. And our goal, of course, is to increase our employees' work lifetime in our company. So the benchmark would be 2+ years in the market of gaming industry. This is the number you can benchmark off. And what instruments do we have? So once again, our instruments or stages of lifetime of our employee is hiring, of course. We talked about that when we talked about value propositions and culture fit questions. So how do we hire people? How do we ask these culture fit questions? How do we talk about real work cases during the hiring process? Ask about real results, which is important for us as a company. Okay, we did hire a person. How do we organize onboarding for him or for her? So at first we deep dive into our newcomer should be deep dive into our culture, our structure as a company, our teams, and we want this a newcomer to socialize and to find his or her mentor, and it will really increase the possibility that this person will retain in our company. But the second part for us as a business, of course, we want to focus on ramp time. So how quick will this person become a fully contributed member of our team? And only real tests with the clear business outcome can help with this. So culture and socializing, and then real business outcome. That would be onboarding. Then, of course, we work on people management. And we use the fresh, as we call it, agile development methods like Kanban and Lean Agile to have the proper approach to make our games. Then, of course, we have clear horizontal communications between employees and our managers, and as we said before. And then, with that being said, we work on learning and development of each employee because every person can increase some of their skills. And as we will help them to do it, they will find another opportunity and another reason to stay in the company and not to join the company. Okay, we work on the communications, we work on the learning and development of our employees, and then we do not carve our values in the stone, and we understand that this is the first iterations of key, do, and don'ts. And then we're trying to get the feedback from newcomers because they came from different parts of your country or of the world. And we're trying to use this culture ed approach when we research employee feedback at least once per year, and for newcomers at least once per 3 months. And we understand and we accept that we will have another iteration of company values when our company will change. So we will change as a company, as every business does. And when we will change as a company, we will need to think about new iteration of values. It was the same for Google, for Facebook. They done it, and we will do it. You can find a lot of cases about Google culture from the book of the ex-Googler. And we, of course, do not forget about offboarding, because onboarding is when we help our newcomers to come into the company. But unfortunately, in average, every 2, maybe 3, maybe less, but on average, every 2 years, we will lose some of our employees, unfortunately. And we need to do a proper work on this stage as well. It is important to say goodbye properly because we work in a small industry and we try to be a good persons as well. So at first, we're trying to find another opportunity within the company to retain this employee because we don't want to lose this person. And as we work on learning and development and we have horizontal communications, we know that we have a few opportunities maybe for this person in another team, and we can talk to this manager from this team and try to find another opportunity. But then, of course, if we can find nothing to learn and earn for this employee, we gather the feedback from exit interviews. We try to understand why. Why does this particular person want to leave? And we're trying to learn from that and to improve our culture and our communications within the team. And as we've done it, we share an instruction of all actions before the exit for this employee. So we don't leave employees until the very end, and we help them until the very end. This is the proper way to say goodbye. We can automate it, we can visualize it properly, but we should do it. We should not forget about that. It is a proper way to say goodbye. And only then we deactivate all the services and accesses, of course, to stay within the IT security, because it's also important for the business. Okay, our key result was to calculate the LTV of employee. How can we do it? To start with, we need to understand how long do the employees work in the company. It is not so difficult. You can work with your legal or finance team and understand the average, and then what team work longer and why. What is the difference in this team to other teams in our company? We can understand it and calculate it. This is the lifetime amount for employees in average. Then we track the quality of each stage, from onboarding, as I said before, to overboarding. We in Playgendary, we use one-to-one performance reviews for onboarding, one-to-one interviews for offboarding. As it's less amount of people, when we can do it, it's the highest possible quality. Then we use surveys and focus groups for management and employee experience stages, as it includes much more people. But we want to do it as well. And based on the previous results from reviews and surveys, of course, and from interviews, we also calculate LTV for each team or for each employee. To be honest, we at the moment are researching this necessity, the necessity of this approach for our company, but the current information which I can share, that there are two main cases to calculate LTV, and then to compare it with the costs and to understand where we can optimize one of these metrics. The first is to, of course, calculate LTV based on the ramp-up period, which we discussed in the onboarding, and to understand how quickly employee starts to generate commercial decisions, the decisions which will help us to increase our revenue. If it's for some groups it's 2 months, and for some groups it's 4 months, we can calculate how much money we could have if we would have the quickest ramp-up period in onboarding. The second way is for less commercial teams. Usually it's development teams or maybe HR teams, but we can calculate LTV for features or decisions released in time. So we can calculate burn rate, so our costs for the team, and we can, based on that, calculate could we do it quicker and save some money for our company. And you can decide on your own, do you need this approach, or you can start with just lifetime and work on the increasing instruments of lifetime, but not about lifetime value. It is for you to decide. But I just wanted to share our cases and thoughts on that. So the resume of our discussion, and then we can have some questions if you have it, or continue it in Facebook, as always. So we have our first iterations of company values with key, do, and don'ts. We have our internal communications model. We have employer brand value propositions for the labor market. And we have culture fit questions for candidate interviews to review them. The final thing is that we have LTV model for our current employees to increase our efficiency. And now, with that being said, your company is better ready to retain your employees and, based on that, grow as a business. And on this point, I want to thank you all for your attentions. I would be glad to hear your questions or feedback. And of course, at the Grow company, we are hiring. And we would like to hear about you, about your story, and how we can work together with you. Thank you very much.
Artur, thank you very much for the great research and for sharing the results of your work and how you see the company culture. This is great to know.
Thank you very much, Igor. Thank you for the opportunity and for the attention of our listeners.
Thanks. So we have a few questions from the audience here. Do you mind answering? We have just a
Of course.
couple of minutes. So first of all, like as we all know, company culture, it does not pop up from like nowhere. And when you only assemble the team, you actually don't have any company culture because it demands like tons of HR specialist works and stuff. So on your opinion, how long can a company like a startup survive without having any particular company culture?
Great question. So scientific answer would be from 4 to 8 years, because this stage for companies like startup, usually it's how we define startup. Usually if we survive these years, we will try to be a mature company. But on my personal experience, first 1 or 2 years, you can even don't think about culture. You can just think about commercial success. And then when you find some patterns, when you see some patterns of behavior, it's a time to start thinking about it and just have a first iteration, not some big document, of course.
Thank you very much. It's like a great answer because many companies in game industry here, we see they're still startups and they are like surpassing this barrier when they need to implement the company culture already these days. So the next question is, which is might not very much relate to the company culture itself, but still it's very interesting, as I think. Well, many companies, especially in our game industry, they tend to implement more and more benefits for the employees, like from corporate gyms to corporate bars, personal drivers, rooms for the resting, and not even mentioning like health insurance, paid days off and stuff. So do you think this trend is getting bigger and bigger with every year, or one day it will stop and we will just like, keep it on the same level for a few more years?
Great question. I hope so. I hope it will tend to increase, because as the manager, of course, I'm trying to optimize compensations and benefits, as we call it. But from employee point of view, it is really important to compare the approach of the company to treat people. And if we will look at more mature industries like IT, not only Google and Facebook, of course, but something from our market like Krok, Yandex, Mail.ru Group, and other companies, we will see that we have a room for improvement, a big room for improvement. But as we will have a look at these companies, which I mentioned, they have stopped the most of the improvements because they found the good balance of what they can invest in employees and when you can stop investing and focus on other stuff, such as learning, of course, because it's a lot of activities, not in benefits, but in learning processes.
All right. That's great to know. Yeah, and I agree with you. So, because me also as the employee of the gaming company, I'm also very much interested in having as much benefits as I can. So, thanks for joining us today. Thank you for answering the questions and for sharing the insights. It was great to have you.
Thank you very much. Have a great last day of the conference.
Thank you.